We are officially entering crunch time. Fantasy basketball playoffs are just around the corner, so whether you are absolutely goated, sitting pretty in first place, or just fighting your nuts off for a playoff spot, this video will help you. And if it doesn't, well, leave some hate mail in the comments, smash the dislike, because who doesn't love arguing with random people on the internet? What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going over the fantasy basketball waiver wire on who to add, who to drop, who to stream, who to hold, and who to leave on the wire so your league mates can burn a roster move picking them up. We have lots of names to cover. Make sure you stick around for the recap. My Tornado Corona skills are just getting started, boys. We're at the tippity top of the iceberg. Let's get into it. Okay, first up, we're going to go with the forgotten man, the bad boy, the guy that was just living in Steve Kerr's doghouse, a guy I talked about in the last video as a stash candidate, and that's going to be Jonathan Kuminga from the Golden State Warriors. So again, just to put this out here right now, this is purely if his knee injury isn't serious. They said he was scheduled for an MRI today, Friday, but we got no results, or they didn't tell us anything. They just said that he had general knee soreness and is out for Saturday's game. It's like, I don't know what that means. I assume everything's fine structurally, or we probably would have known, but just who knows at this point with the NBA. It's honestly ridiculous. So yeah, we had talked about Kuminga as a stash candidate in last week's video, and he showed us a glimpse of what he's capable of when he actually gets on the court and out of Steve Kerr's bad books. Kerr really has no choice but to play him now at least decent minutes with Jimmy Butler's season-ending ACL injury. Kuminga is one of the few rotational role players on that team that can individually create and get his own bucket in the half court when things get stagnant. And that's something that the Warriors are so desperate for. He has pop, a quick first step. He tries to use that bully ball Euro step through way too much, in my opinion. He needs to add something else to his game, but it works with him being 6'7", with a massive wingspan and just freakishly athletic, so it is okay for now. It is a real shame he got hurt. He looked real good the first two games. He's starting to put a real nice line again together in the second game. He can score, he can rebound, and he'll hopefully be locked in on the defensive end as well. I do think he's definitely better suited for points league, as the one thing with his field goal percentage, it can be a drag, and definitely his free throw percentage. He's got to work on that part of his game, and he is limited for threes. But I still love the upside here, and who knows what's going to happen at the deadline now. We need to add this guy in 12s, unless some report comes out that he's going to miss multiple weeks or something with that knee injury. So just monitor that, stay tuned, and go from there. Okay, and next up, we're going to go with another young guy from the Washington Wizards who seemingly got a pretty big hit when Trae Young was traded there, until they found out that Trae's not even going to be reevaluated until after the All-Star break. And who knows if he's actually even going to suit up for a game for the Wizards this year, and that's going to be Bub Carrington. Now, Trae Young does look like he's going to play very minimal games, if any at all, which makes sense. Washington does have other things on its mind, and it's the right decision. Keep developing their young talent and see if Carrington's going to be a part of your future, especially with Young in the mix now. Carrington was like a silly season star last year, and he has the makings again to do it this year. His three-point shot is just greatly improved, and if he can continue to hover around a 40% shooter from deep, it will do wonders for his fantasy game and his real-life game as a much-needed outside scoring threat on this young Washington Wizards squad. The most dynamic part of his game, though, is definitely his playmaking. He has great court vision. Carrington can struggle with turnovers, as a lot of young players do, and definitely his efficiency can be rough at times, so he's best suited for 9 category leagues as like a punt, turnovers, punt, field goal percent build. The steals have been a little lacking so far in his short NBA career, but he has 8 in the last 2 weeks along with a few blocks, and if he continues to creep closer to 1 steal per game and work on that aspect, it will boost his value immensely and raise his floor to offset these poor shooting performances you should probably expect every now and then if you have him rostered. One of the things I do like about this kid, that he was like absolute garbage, or he had a really rough start to the year, and just the mental resilience to keep working at it and to start to turn things around. It's just a great sign from a young kid, almost doing a complete 180 from the beginning of the year, and I got nothing but respect for players who can do that. Carrington is only 20, don't forget, playing the position with the steepest learning curve in the NBA, and there's just so much room to grow in his game with his talent, footwork, and handle, and I really like what I've seen the last few games. Carrington is showing enough to be rostered now, or at least take a swing on, with the additional bonus less of a silly season bump. Okay, and last up, we got a Los Angeles Clipper who's currently on a two-way deal, and that's Jordan Miller. And he has one of the more cooler, unique moves I've seen the entire season. It took me like 5 times actually watching this to figure out what Miller did. That move was spicy, baby. But yes, Miller is on a two-way deal, and he definitely is playing like he deserves an NBA contract, and he's earning trust from the Clippers coaching staff and the players as he continues to play well each game. Miller got real run when Leonard missed time with injury and showed off his skill set as a legit two-way player, evidenced by his back-to-back 4-steal games. Miller can score, he can dabble with the three, he can rebound, he can sprinkle counting stats across the board. He's usually good from the floor, and he's solid from the free throw line. He's a real good 9-category player with a decent floor for points league. I don't know how much run he's going to continue to get with Leonard back in the mix, but he almost closed out last game that he played until he had a couple mental errors near the end of the game and they had to sub him out. But it's a promising sign that he has trust from that coaching staff to play those minutes. And I just do like the upside. His fantasy game or his real life game is just so fantasy friendly if he can get those minutes and get those usage. And if he's starting to carve out that secondary role behind Harden and Leonard and Zubats, I really like the potential for him to be a mainstay for 12 league teams to close out the year. Again, his skill set is very fantasy friendly. He just needs the minutes, needs the opportunity, and he just needs to keep playing well. I'm rooting for the guy. Okay, now it's time to get into the section where I look at the most added players from Yahoo on Thursday and Friday. And I'm going to go over the top 10 players that have been added in the last couple of days. And I can give my opinion whether you should add them, drop them, hold them, or do nothing and just let your league mates burn a move picking those players up. So first up, most added from Yahoo is Mad Max Christie from the Dallas Mavericks. And I am a little surprised to see him actually make this list. I thought he for sure was most rostered to be able to qualify for this, but Dallas has been dealing with a plethora of injuries, and Christie has been shooting the ball really well. His value really hinges on that as he doesn't stuff it too much in any counting category, as you can see from his game logs. The upside is evident though when he's scoring, when he's lacing that nylon. You would like to see that 6'5" frame get a little bit more active on the defensive end, but regardless, Christie should be rostered in 12-team leagues right now. We'll keep going with the big man, Jonas Valanciunas. Now, he had been dealing with an injury. We hadn't seen him take the court since all the way back on December 31st. He played his first game back tonight on Thursday. Now, he should be a super solid play until Jokic returns. I would guess Jokic probably returns sometimes next week, but I'm no Chris Angel mind freak, so I can't predict that shit with 100% accuracy. Still, though, the big man can ball when he gets the minutes and opportunity. He's really another per-minute beast, and the vet has been just doing it for a long time. He has a real nice soft touch around the rim, and he uses his size and his footwork to his advantage. You add him until the Joker returns, and then you send him back to the gulag. And next up, the next most added is Kelly Oubre Jr. from the Philadelphia 76ers. So Oubre has been starting the last couple of games, even with George back in the lineup. And this is the first time all year that the 76ers have actually started their predicted starting lineup from the preseason. So Oubre is a scorer through and through, and he's usually solid in the rebounding department. He can hit the three, and he's usually good for a steal per game as well. If Oubre is going to stick in the starting unit and get close to 30 plus minutes per night, he just needs to be an ad for 12-team leagues, points or category. Simple as that. We'll keep going with Buddy Hield. Now, I don't know if it was just for a stream on their game for Thursday, but Golden State is such a crapshoot with their rotational players. So Steve Kerr just picking names out of a hat, it seems like, on any given night. Buddy can stroke it, though. There is absolutely no denying that. A lot of these role players are just tough to trust in Steve Kerr's system, even in wake of the Jimmy Butler season-ending injury. Like Hield, if he isn't lacing it at like 50 or 60%, any given night, you're just going to be super disappointed. It's going to be a very ugly line. He just doesn't do anything else besides threes or maybe fall into some long rebounds. Kuminga is my preferred ad in Golden State. Pods would be next up, but we just need to wait and see how bad the Kuminga injury is and how much time he may or may not miss. So we are really turning back the clock here with the next most ad, and that's Klay Thompson off the Dallas Mavericks. So yeah, like I said earlier with Mad Max, Dallas had been reeling with a bunch of injuries, and Klay had been banging them home from deep and off the court with the Stallion. He's pretty much identical to the Buddy Hield vibes, but at least Klay can contribute a smidge elsewhere in the counting stats. If I had to choose between Buddy and Klay, I'm going Klay. But really, my preferred choice would be neither. Unless I'm like desperately just streaming for threes to close out the matchup, get that last bump. Both these guys should be on the wire and just totally out of our mind, out of the picture for 12-team leagues. Next up, we have Isaiah Collier from the Utah Tankers. Now, I have talked about Collier a lot on this channel. He's definitely a guy to watch for silly season. His minutes can be so sporadic on that Utah Tankers team that you don't really know what you're going to get any given night. He's definitely a bump in the assist department. That's what he's mainly going to be useful for. He can get there with the points, and he can definitely get there with the assists. He's a great facilitator. You'd like to see him improve his three-point stroke more, give him a bit more minutes, give him a bit more playing time on that court if he can start knocking down threes at a more consistent clip. But again, this is just like an assist streamer until we get to silly season, and maybe who knows what Utah starts doing, because if Collier starts getting 30 plus minutes per night on the regular, he'll be definitely useful for 12 league teams to close out the year. Okay, we'll keep going with another guy I was a little bit surprised to see on this list, but in the end, I kind of do get it, especially if he's on a team that you just need to win, and that's going to be Yusuf Nurkic, especially when he was getting all those DNPs, just not playing. Maybe you thought Utah was doing that stupid thing again where they're tanking, shutting him down, but man, he's back. He's triple-doubled in his last 2 games. He just looks like a beast out there. His passing is on full display. He's trying to do his best Jokic impression, and people just got to be kicking themselves if they dropped them, one of their league mates scooped them up, and it's just getting this insane production again. Like, if we just look at his game logs and remove all the DNPs in the games that he didn't play, like, just look at these stats. It's insane. And again, I get it. It's tough. He was a tough hold when he wasn't playing, but man, I feel for you guys that dropped him and didn't get him back. I'm curious. Let me know down below. Was he dropped in your league? Do you get to add him, scoop him up, or did the manager in your league just hold on tight and is reaping the rewards now? I know in all my leagues he was never dropped, but I'm curious. Let me know down below. Okay, we'll keep going with Sandro Mukbang or Mamu. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his actual last name because it is just ridiculous. I don't want the pronunciation police up my cornhole, but CMB has missed the last 2 games and Yahoo is still nowhere to be seen. I actually heard he's returned back home to Toronto to see a specialist. So anyway, you take that as definitely not a positive thing. I'm actually pretty relieved that I don't have any Pirtle stocks in any of my teams this year. It's just been a rough year for the big fella. But Mamu, as most people call him, has put together 2 really impressive performances back to back. He hit some huge shots late against Golden State to really stop any sort of comeback that they were doing and seal the win for the Raptors. It would have earned him a lot of trust from the coaching staff and his teammates, and he just doubled down with an equally impressive performance the next game. Sandro is a big man who can space the floor, is a solid rebounder, and not a net negative for rim protection. He is definitely worth the ad with no CMB and Jakob Poeltl nowhere to be found. And let's just keep riding this great production that he's given us over the last few games. Man, Yahoo managers must just be so horny for the big fellas. A bunch of you gooners out there adding all these big men, but we'll keep going with another center, the rookie from the Sacramento Kings, Dylan Cardwell. And he's pretty much given you a poor man's Rudy Gobert's line the last few games. Barely any points, double-digit boards, some steals, and multiple blocks. He's eclipsed 20 minutes in 4 of his last 5, but Sabonis is still being brought along very slowly with also a DNP on the second half of a back-to-back, so the minutes have been readily available for the first-year center. I don't think we need to chase this right now. I really do want to see what it looks like when Sabonis is fully back up to speed, back up to full strength, because the minutes could take a massive plunge. They still have the Frenchman Maxime Reynal on the roster too, but if you are desperate, super desperate for boards and blocks, Cardwell is only one of 3 players in the NBA averaging 7+ boards while playing under 20 minutes per contest. So in theory, he doesn't really need a lot of juice to bring down those boards for you. Still though, I think the upside is going to be heavily capped when Sabonis is back up, ramped up to full speed. You never know what's going to happen at the trade deadline. I don't know what the Kings are going to do. I don't know if the Kings know what they're doing. So keep an eye on this guy if Sabonis ends up getting moved. But right now, if Sabonis stays put and he stays healthy, I don't think there'll be enough juice. Just more like a streamer for boards and blocks on the weekend when you're just trying to tilt a matchup in your favor. And then last up, finally, for the most added off Yahoo, it's going to be Sam Hauser from the Boston Celtics. Now, he's another 3-point specialist who's been scorching hot from deep lately, practically unconscious out there, banging home 19 threes in his last 3 games, setting an NBA record along the way also for the most 3-point attempts without a single 2-pointer in a game, shooting 21 threes while hitting 10 of them. Just crazy work out there. Also on top of that, he became the only player in Celtics history to record multiple games with double-digit triples. Pretty cool for him, actually. But regardless of that, though, we all know this streak is going to regress. It's just a fact. It has to happen. And when it does, his points will take a hit. And besides rebounding, he doesn't really do anything else. There's no assists, there's no stocks, there's no free throws. So for the category guys in the 8 or 9 cat, his value really hurts. It really hinges on his threes and points. I don't mind Hauser for an upside streamer, 4 threes when he's shooting like this. You almost just have to add him and just ride the wave. But just don't hesitate when he cools off to move on to somebody else. Okay, so that's it for the Yahoo Most Added on Thursday and Friday. Do you guys kind of like this segment that I've been doing? I feel like the waiver wire at this point of the year, before we fully kind of get into silly season, is just kind of stale. It feels like we're kind of recycling the same guys that are just popping up again every 3 or 4 weeks. You know, that names that we've talked about all year, since there isn't being much change happening. But injuries obviously will happen. The trade deadline's about to happen. But let me know your thoughts about the section. If you guys hate it, if you just buzz through it, or if you actually do like it. Let me know in the comments down below.
It's time for Number to Sports Weekly Waiver Wire Recap. Is he going to hit himself in the not-so-torpedo of beer? Let's find out if he fucked you over last week with his weekly recommendations.
All right, recap time, boys. And the first up, we had Jalen Smith. Now, another big bonus of Smith before we get into it is he has a 5-game week next week. Chicago's the only team of that. So that is a huge bonus. And if Jalen Smith is still floating around on your wire, you need to add him right now, because he still is that extra lottery ticket bump if Vooch does end up getting dealt. But also, we got to give a quick shout out to a Twitter DM saying to stash Smith about a month ago, before it really started to get going. So props to you, bro. But yes, looking at this production, looking at these game logs right now, this is starter worthy in 12s. And like I said, if Vooch ends up going, Smith could be going to the moon, boys. And then next up, we had Brandon Williams. So we had 2 good games with 1 clunker in between. Flag had been out, but returned. I loved Williams' aggressiveness against the Warriors. His first step is just so goddamn quick. I still think we have a little juice left here, even though the Mavs have got some of their injured guys back and getting a little bit healthier. And I am very curious how he's going to look against the Lakers and what the rotation is going to look like after these injured guys have got another game under their belt and get a bit more minutes lifted off the restriction. I am intrigued by this skill set. But again, it's Jason Kidd, so you just have no idea what's going to happen any given night. Now, I am so pissed. I burned all my moves in my main league where Tyson was just floating around on the wire when he was going through that really rough stretch, and I just couldn't pick him up after he started to get some juice after Merrill got hurt, and I knew he was going to get bumped back into that lineup. But anyways, he's been a staple in 12 league team lineups since that. We can see the upside with the 39-point game. He has rebound potential, steals, and he's solid in the percentage for 9-catters as well. He's just a great all-around player, points, categories, you name it. And last up, we have Cam Spencer. Now, Morant did return earlier than I thought, and rightfully, Spencer did take a hit. But if Morant stays with Memphis, Spencer is not a must-hold player by any means. His value is really dependent on Morant being traded to free up usage and minutes. Like you can see tonight on Friday with Morant sitting out, Spencer just puts in great lines after great lines, or at least usable ones for 12 league teams pretty much every time that Morant is out. It's not the worst production with Morant, so you can definitely still hold through to the trade deadline, because there is real nice lottery pick potential here if Morant gets dealt, or likely does get dealt. All right, so definitely no punishment off that. There is no way. I don't even need to punch it into the calculator. There's some absolute studs in this video, but you know, I still got to practice that tornado for that Corona. I am trying to get my time down. That was a pretty decent first effort last video, so we're going to do it again here, all right? All right, but I think that's it for this video. I appreciate y'all. If you're still watching and not sub, make sure you hit that button. I know a ton of you guys that are actually watching this aren't sub, so it'd be sick. Hit that button, hit that noti, hit that thumbs up, hype it, you name it. Drop a comment down below. I'll try to respond to every single one, every video. Hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend, day, night, wherever you are, and I'll see you guys real soon.